In the video for this week, I'm going to be going over Rate Your Music's top 10 albums of 2025 and giving you my opinion on them and what I would personally rate them. How I'm going to structure this is basically I'm going to go in the order of their list, and then as I'm doing that, I will tell you where I would put it and basically what score I would give it out of 5. I guess that's probably it, so without further ado, let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 on Rate Your Music's list, we have Nina Geraci's I Love My Computer album. This album is kind of what I would describe as, EDM house music, but I feel like a lot of times those albums can fall into being really repetitive and kind of boring sometimes. But this album really has no fat. It's really, get up and go, very not my normal type of music that I listen to, but even then I still thought that it was really good, and I think that it does pretty close to perfectly what it's trying to do as an album. I would give it a 4 probably, just because I can't give it a 5 because I don't think I'm personally going to be coming back to it as much, but it is an exceptional record and one that I did thoroughly enjoy in my first listen. Coming in at 9th on Rate Your Music list is Oneohtrix Point Never. Hopefully I'm also saying that name right. Their album Tranquilizer. This album is, I'm not very well versed in this genre, but what I kind of compared it to is kind of the trippy parts of Imaginal Disc. But if that was all it was, like there aren't any vocals on this album, and the instrumental isn't exactly, it's music. I'm not gonna be one of those people who calls everything I don't like not music, but it's not very, musical in a traditional sense. I didn't enjoy the album too much. It was like watching a movie with no actors. It's got the pretty visuals in certain areas, and it can still convey certain vibes with the imagery, but there isn't any, human emotion behind it, it felt like, or at least I can't personally interpret it through that, because this isn't, the type of music that I listen to. If I had to give it a score, I'd have to sadly probably give it a 2, just because I feel like I can't personally recommend the record because I didn't enjoy it. Just didn't connect with me. Coming in at number 8 on Rate Your Music's list is Deseo, Carne, Voluntad by Candelabro. I don't know if you could tell by the way I said that, but I don't speak Spanish. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name too bad, but I really enjoyed this album. I thought that they kind of gave the vibe of, Black Country New Road, where it was really theatrical and really grand in many parts, and there were lots of different instruments and horns and, just very experimental in a really fun way that I personally enjoy. The other 2 records I've talked about so far, I said how they weren't really my genre. This is definitely my genre. You might say like, oh, you didn't really like the Tranquilizer record because, there weren't any lyrics that you could understand. But I feel like even though I can't totally understand the words that they're saying all the time in this record, I feel like you can still feel the emotion that it gets across. It's like watching a foreign film. If I'm keeping up the film analogy, you might not be able to understand everything they're saying, but you can, hear what they're trying to get across. And just the instrumentals are so awesome. I really love this album, and if I had to give it a score, I'm going to put it up as our first 5 of the list, because, I think everybody should check it out. Number 7th on Rate Your Music's list is Seeking Darkness by Huremic. I believe that they are from South Korea, so once again there's a very likely chance that I'm mispronouncing that. This is another album that I enjoyed. One of those albums where there aren't very many songs, but the songs that there are very lengthy. I just really enjoyed the energy on this record, and they really use a lot of sampling of like weird sound effects and noises that I feel like really elevate the record. I would even say that there are some noise rock elements. I mean, maybe that's even just the genre everybody uses to describe this album. I didn't do that much research into this because I want to give my opinion. I don't want to be influenced by other people's opinions. I would give it a 4, but behind the I Love My Computer album, in my opinion. Coming in at number 6, we have Birthing by Swans. I thought this album was not the best. I think that it's a certain kind of record where I don't want to say this because obviously Swans has a lot of fans, but just came across as thinking that it was, you know, this huge, grand album, when really the builds didn't do very much for me personally. What few lyrics there weren't, you know, didn't really have any effect on me. And just overall, it was an album that didn't justify its very long length or its, you know, very long run times on its songs. I mean, this is coming from somebody whose favorite artists are like the Beatles and Bob Dylan, but I feel like this might even be a little pretentious for me personally. I don't mean to, you know, totally out attack this album. If you're a Swans fan, I respect you, but personally, I feel like I have to give this album a 2, just because I would never personally want to re-listen to this album, and I feel like it would even go behind Tranquilizer, just because that album would be less of a hassle to get through again. And there were small parts of that album that I enjoyed. You might be wondering what's keeping it from a 1. I keep 1s for albums that are, you know, actually hurt to get through, but this album was just kind of background music, so it didn't give that visceral reaction that like Father of All by Green Day gives.
Zombies stop going all crazy, they whole game changed like Jose, Walking Dead.
At number 5 here we have an album where I can't say the album name just because it is a slur, but this album is by Billy Woods. This album didn't connect with me that much. It's definitely got some horror elements with it, and there were definitely moments that probably went over my head. Weren't any standout tracks to me. You know, this is a hip-hop adjacent record, I would say, which, as you will see later in the list, it's not like I'm completely opposed to that. It's still obviously, you know, some of the best albums ever made are rap albums, but I generally just get the feel that this album wasn't really made for me. It's not really my genre. I can't find anything to really slight it though, and I'm sorry to all the fans of this record that I'm not talking that much about it, but I'll give it a solid 3. At number 4 we have Magic Alive by McKinley Dixon. This album was really good. I really enjoyed the live instrumentals. I really feel like that really goes well with rap music. I really enjoy whenever I hear a rap album that has those, just because I feel like it gives it a life that might be kind of lacking in some of the, you know, trap beats or something, but that's just a personal opinion. I feel like he has a lot of energy when he's rapping. I wouldn't say there are any songs that, you know, really knocked me off my feet, but overall just a very concise album that I can't really say anything bad about. Solid 4, in between Heremic and Nina Geraci, but still very solid. Number 3 on Rate Your Music's list is Let God Sort 'Em Out by Clips. I thought this album was very, very good. I really like the features. I really like the rapping by, you know, our 2 leading people, Pusha T and Malice. The production on this album is amazing. I know that they have Pharrell on a lot of these beats, and, you know, Obviously, he's one of the most talented producers of all time, so that definitely helps out. Not a single song that I was waiting to end or that I didn't think was really good. Give this album overall a 5, like Candelabro. Probably just like Candelabro a little bit more, just because that's, more the music that I find myself listening to and returning to more often compared to the type of music that Clips makes. Number 2 is Lonely People with Power by Def Heaven. I thought this album was instrumentally very well put together, but I just can't get past, the death metal screaming. If you watched my video from last year, my bottom albums were both of the death metal albums, just because something about it, it's so one note. I just don't find it that interesting. This album would be much higher without that. I feel like there were moments where, the guitars and everything and just the general atmosphere, which I feel like is very shoegaze inspired, really did something to me, but then those vocals would just come back and kind of ruin it. Still give this album a 3 though, but behind Billy Woods, because I have more complaints about it than Billy Woods. Finally, number 1 on the Rate Your Music list is Getting Killed by Geese. And spoiler alert, this is number 1 on my list too. I really like this album a lot. I think that Cameron Winter is a genius. I'm sure that you've heard of this album and Cameron Winter. It's, the talk of the town. I can't go on social media without seeing a bunch of videos of his face. I don't know if that's just my feed, but I feel like I've been talking to other people who have really experienced that too. And the hype is real. If you haven't checked out this album, I think you really should. So much energy in every song. Not a single song that I don't think is actually amazing. He's got such an interesting voice as well. I mean, some people might find it a little grating, but like I said, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, so vocals don't really bother me, other than death metal. I feel like this album is, at that S tier of the 2020s albums with Imaginal Disc and Answer 'Em Up There, that kind of level of everybody kind of thinks that they're, really good. There's some other albums that I've heard are on that list, but I haven't checked them out yet. I really need to do that. But yeah, great album. Top of 5. Check it out.